What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show on today, where we are talking about week 11 of HBCU football, and we're going into week 12 of the HBCU football season. The season's almost over, and I say that every week because it really is almost over. It's over for Division II, and for the FCS, it is about to be done. I got Arielle Kilgore in the building. Arielle, how you doing today?
I was super excited, and then you made me sad because yes, it's almost over, and then I'm not gonna because once this is over, the NFL is over. I know you're a basketball fan, but for me, I'm about to go into a major hibernation of no sports, period. But even though we're going to be reviewing week 11, week 12, especially in MEAC, is one of my favorites because this will be the fourth year that we get my game of the week, which is super pivotal now, but also going to show what kind of team Central is, because that win against Norfolk State was really, really scary. I would have never thought Michael Vick coming that close to beating Trey Oliver.
Yeah, like honestly, they say that Trey Oliver has an issue beating first year coaches. Like so that's what they're starting to say on the HBCU streets. You know, I'm not saying that it's true, but I'm saying that there's some evidence being built. Although he did win on Saturday, because Chennisberry, that's Chennisberry, but DeSean Jackson doing homecoming, and then Michael Vick at Norfolk State, like one in whatever, has not won a Division I game. That was a lot, Arielle. But I gotta talk to you about this South Carolina State Howard game. Chennisberry cooking, ain't he? What's going on? That was your game of the week. What's going on?
He definitely did more than cooking. He fried and died and laid aside Howard officially. That was what I thought this Central game would have been. South Carolina State winning 42-12. I don't know what happened, but I knew once I saw South Carolina State go up 21-zip in the first quarter, I should have immediately just changed to that Michael Vick and Trey Oliver game. But that is not what happened. I stuck it through to the end. And the thing about me is I don't care how bad it is. I'm going to stick through to the end. This was not one of those games, Randall. And it really wasn't much to say. I mean, touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, field goal attempt. And then you also had a blocked punt and a return and a pick six. It doesn't, like, the theatrics of it for South Carolina State, it doesn't get any better than that. But just for Howard and how far they have gone down, we're talking about a Howard team from 2022 that was vying, actually I think it was 2023, that was vying for that spot against Central, and they just gone down year after year, not really making a position for themselves in the MEAC. South Carolina State, Atkins, quarterback, 15 out of 23, one touchdown, one interception, not really bad, but I just wasn't getting anything from Tyreek Stark. And to me, this is probably one of the worst games that I have seen him play. He's not a bad quarterback. He isn't the greatest quarterback that we've had in the MEAC, but this is one of the performances where he looked very lost, and I didn't know what he was doing. Nobody was connecting. All his throws were either being dropped or they weren't reaching their receiver. He didn't really seem in the game, and I mean, for him not to have bad weapons, but you have a pretty good offense. For him not to be able to connect and to actually put up points on the board against South Carolina State was really scary. And then you also have to think South Carolina State held Howard to 63 rushing yards. I mean, that should be the end of my summary. 63 rushing yards. You have better time of possession. First downs were okay. 146 passing yards. South Carolina State only putting up 221. Rushing yards, I definitely would have thought South Carolina State would have had more because they are a ground team. Most of their points are scored through their running back or through a run. But, I mean, 63 rushing yards, that's just failed and poor coaching to me, honestly, against South Carolina State, one of the things that they do best. So the game on Howard's end was more of a disappointment because I know they could be a better team, and I know they're just in the mood to, like, just start over. But for South Carolina State, this was something easy that they needed to accomplish before they go to Central and try to see if we're going to have a repeat of last year, Chennis Berry was first time coach that did beat Trey Oliver. Is he going to be the one that's going to be vying for that spot for Delaware State, or will they be the ones going home? And Central is probably going to duke it out with Delaware State, trying to see who is going to the Celebration Bowl in December. I don't know, but congratulations, South Carolina State. They are possibly one win away from seeing who is going to hold up that trophy in Atlanta.
When it comes to this game, just Chennis Berry, I don't know why he is so good at his job. Like, I don't know. Like, how is he so good at his job? Hiring the coaches and then getting those coaches and working with those coaches to recruit the players and then instilling the scheme that everybody then goes out and executes. And he's like a part-time motivational speaker. And like, it's just like how is he so good? Because I was worried about South Carolina State because they did not look all that great at the start of the season. They didn't. And I know that it's so odd when it comes to HBCU football and especially the MEAC, primarily because you don't really see these teams at game speed until you get to October. Yeah, Michael Vick calling these games out of conference games preseason games, So it's like you really don't know what these MEAC teams are until they get to October and they play each other. Because if you look at Howard, you would have thought, man, Howard's pretty good. I mean, you beat FAMU, like you competed in some of these other games. You had some bad losses, but they look pretty good. And you have this game where Tyreek Stark literally only connects on 7 passes on 22 attempts, 97 yards. Like you said, run game was non-existent primarily because of South Carolina State. Then you have a South Carolina State team that, yes, they did play, some big dog programs. They played USF. They played South Carolina. It was pretty bad. But then, like, you're playing Wofford, and it's 16-15. You're playing Charleston Southern, and you lose 31-24. So it's like, I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is something that I'm not used to when it comes to South Carolina State, of course, but also Chennis Berry. But then all of a sudden they get in the MEAC and they beating people down. And even the Morgan State game, they were beating down Morgan State. So it's like, yeah, Morgan State made that comeback and they tried to snatch that victory. Morgan State's been doing pretty good, but still, South Carolina State was able to handle business. And then they handled business last week. Then they handled business on this week. So now I'm like, what is really going on? What is happening? Because I don't know. I mean, South Carolina State is the best team in the MEAC. And I know we flip-flop, it's North Carolina Central, it's Delaware State, it's South Carolina State. South Carolina State, the way that they're winning these games is insane. William Atkins IV, I have some questions about him, especially him replacing Eric Phoenix. But this man is balling, especially ever since we got in the MEAC play. He's going crazy. So I don't know, like Arielle, listen, and I'll pass it back to you. We know that because we know our facts. You and I know our facts. We know our history. We know that in the SWAC, there's a championship game. We know that in the SIAC, there's a championship game. We know in the CIAA, there's a championship game. The MEAC don't have a championship game, Arielle, but next week is the MEAC championship game. And they were like, Randall, you don't know what you're talking about. They should fire you from clutch points. Y'all don't know football. There's no MEAC championship game. Yes, it is. Arielle, yes, it is. And I'll explain why a little bit later.
But going back to the 3 losses outside of the HBCU wins and the MEAC wins that they have, I think I could see what you're saying about South Carolina State. I would have expected better from that Wofford loss, only winning by a point because they are much better than them. When it comes to that South Carolina game that they lost 10-38, and then when you look at that South Florida game 14-63, competing but not being able to hold their own against those really good teams, I don't want to say those are necessarily indicators of how they were going to go into the season. Wofford, to me, was probably the big indicator because they held their own and end up winning. But the rest of these games, this is just proving that South Carolina State is the most altogether put together team that we've seen. When we look at Howard, they do have a really good team. They have a stable team, but nothing that has like hero qualities or a standout person that is going to be able to push them over the edge. Delaware State has a lot of stars, but it took them a minute to try to put it together and work as a team cohesively. When you look at Trey Oliver and North Carolina Central as the Eagles, you see them trying to build off the momentum that they are a great team, but replacing their quarterback and trying to get him acclimated to the system that he is in now, that has proved to have its challenges. So when you look at South Carolina State, through their coach, through their quarterback, through the games that they play, through the people that they have, they are the most well-rounded team that we have, to me, in HBCU play, period, even over Jackson State. So I think it's very, very possible for them to go and maybe do a repeat win next week, what we would consider our MEAC player, our champion of who's really the MEAC champions, just because these are two teams with the same record, even though we have three teams with the same record. Delaware State, North Carolina Central, and South Carolina State University all have 7-3. The only thing that worries me, that if Central does decide to win, you have to factor in that Delaware State loss. So where does that put them in the fact of going into the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium? I don't know. But South Carolina State, even though they may not be as heavy and as dominant as they were in their first year when Chinnisberry stepped on the scene, nothing has changed about them being cohesive, being consistent, and winning games by whatever means necessary. They are still the same team, maybe not strength-wise as they were last year, but this is the team that knows how to put it together and make wins out of no ways. So I'm excited to see what they do in my game of the week, but I'm not surprised this is the way it goes. I just hope Howard regathers themselves over this offseason, because this is not the Howard that we've known to praise and see, and who has a really great recruiting. Hopefully we get to see better of them, or we're going to see a lot of coaching changes coming again going into next season.
Listen, we love Howard, but let's be honest, Arielle, it's basketball season for Howard. Okay, let's be for it's basketball season.
And you know, a lot of HCUs have been balling. I've seen some very good reports. You go ahead and point me to your game of the week last week. You probably had a better game than me. I think you did have a better game than me. And I think you ended up, was that the one that we both choose Texas Southern, or you picked Alabama State? Because I know they won.
No. Okay, here's what happened with that.
Okay.
So you picked Texas Southern, and you had a great reason for picking Texas Southern, because Andrew Body is still out. So essentially they're resting him because he got some good news as far as his shoulder. He did injure his shoulder in that Prairie View A&M game, and they wanted to hold him out just to make sure everything will be all good, because they still are in SWAC championship contention, because you never know what could happen these next 2 weeks with Jackson State. So, you know, they held him out, and they had DeSean Smoot in the game. And I still picked Alabama State to win. And I said the reason why I picked them to win is because Andrew Body is that engine that powers that offense, but they do have other weapons. And then you said without Andrew Body, you don't know if they'll be able to beat Texas Southern. And I was a little shaky too, I'm not going to lie to you, but Alabama State handled business. They won 42-24. Smoot played great. They didn't have him passing the ball a lot, but he put up 215 yards and one passing touchdown, 9 of 13 attempts. The run game what Smoot really was doing was sort of setting up, the short game. You had Jamari Holtzclaw, 7 carries, 44 yards. Really, the scoring came from Marcus Harris. So he had 3 touchdowns on only 4 carries, and he really was the one that brought a lot of the scoring for the team. So honestly, for me, there's not really a lot to break down here, and I'm gonna be honest and tell you the reason why. Okay, so I'm only one person, and I went to the Fountain City Classic, and I don't know why I did that to myself. I'm not gonna say I had a horrible time. It was a time, and it wasn't like, oh, I had a time. It was just like, it was time. I spent time in Columbus. Like I found a way to somehow, some way, either get a cramp in my hamstring or sprain my hamstring. Okay. The reason I'm not wearing my glasses is because they gave me a really bad headache, and I'm afraid to put them back on. Okay. And, Fort Valley got beat down 48-3, and by an Albany State team that we saw go toe to toe with FAMU, and they've been beating down all the teams in the SIAC as Quinn Gray prepares to get this SIAC championship. go to the D2 playoffs, and then go and become the head coach of FAMU next year. And I'm sure we'll be talking about him in the game of the week when he becomes FAMU's coach. He would become FAMU's coach real soon. Let's be for right. I've no reporting. I just feel that way. Okay. So I didn't watch this game live. I come back, Arielle, and I turn the game on, and I try not to be negative, Arielle. I try to be very positive. But that SWAC TV broadcast was horrible. First and foremost, why I'm trying to fast forward to the commercials, and I'm trying to fast forward through the start. It's skipping me forward 2 minutes. So I got to figure out how to split the difference in, okay, I'm trying to skip forward like a minute, but you're skipping me forward 2 minutes. So I'm watching the game, the angles all out of place, and you know I'm bougie, so I cannot watch a badly produced game. I'm bougie. Like, I can't do it, and it's really bad for what we do, because all the HBCU games that are not produced like on ESPN TV or by HBCU Go are like badly produced. If they're on ESPN Plus or Flow Sports, good luck. You know what I mean? So like I had to really suffer through this game, and like it was close. You know, in the first half, I mean, Alabama State sort of came out swinging, and KJ Cooper for Texas Southern is a really great quarterback, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they rushed for 255 yards. But Alabama State ultimately just comes down to who's the better team. And I just think that Alabama State, this is just their year right now. I mean, Texas Southern, they're number 2 current. Well, I don't think they're number 2 right now. I think Grambling sort of overtook them, but they were number 2 in the SWAC for a minute. I'm very proud of them because I didn't think they would be this good. Although their record says 4-5, they're way better than their 4-5 record. And I see what Chris Dishman is doing. But at the end of the day, I just think that Alabama State just has something cooking. And probably the person I'm the most impressed with, Arielle, is Smoot, because you're putting a freshman in this position to replace arguably the best quarterback in HBCU football. And how are you going to perform? Texas Southern is not a moribund program. They are a contender in the SWAC West, and they very well could have been in championship conversations had they beat Prairie View at the start of the season, and they dropped some games that I believe they should not have dropped, as we see in our picks when it comes to the game of the week. But he stepped up and he made it happen, and they were risk adverse. They didn't have him throwing the ball 20, 30 times, only 13 times. You hit on 9, big chunks of yards you're getting. But I just think that Alabama State, this is just their year. And I'm excited to see what more they do. I know that when it comes to the FCS playoffs, I don't know how that's going to work out because it gets real tricky with the Turkey Day Classic. But this Alabama State team, this is the team that I thought that they would be last year. But of course, you got Andrew Body playing wide receiver, tight end, water boy. He ended up getting hurt. You know what I mean? So, you know.
And you're right. I mean, solid analysis and solid point. I didn't think they could win with this without Andrew Body. I mean, with Renfro having the game that he had, and then you look at Trent and Larry, I'm just like, okay, you know, I'm not convinced that Cooper is the best quarterback that they have. But the way that they held on tight, even going into halftime, I'm just like, okay, maybe we could see a game that Texas Southern may do, and what you highlighted last week may beat Alabama State, and also their quarterback used to play for Texas Southern. So I'm sitting here like, this is going to be the best revenge story ever, even though it would have been great, in which he did, for Andrew Body to beat Texas Southern, his old team, hopefully, but unfortunately just not injured. But I really thought Texas Southern could hold it out because of the players that they had and who they are and the identity that they made this season. But this just shows me that Alabama State is really trying to go all the way and has figured out how to keep the team momentum, which I think is important, without having the best quarterback in the MEAC playing, well, in the SWAC playing. Just because last year this would be unheard of. Them having this record, them beating these teams, especially Texas Southern, the way that they did, would have never happened. But now they're starting to click and figure it out. And I love that they probably heard us or listened to us. Do not put this man in the game if he is injured. Don't make that injury worse. Just hold him out until it's important. So if it's not a serious injury and he's looking to be back next week, or if they get into this playoff contention where they do get to play, that he will be used for that, because that's what I think you need to do, then great. But for right now, just sitting out, nursing it, making sure that he is prepared for the game that they really need to be won is amazing. I can do nothing but say congratulations to Alabama State for proving me wrong, because I had no faith in them. But hopefully Andrew Body is back soon. And hopefully we keep this same kind of tension in the swag. Because to me, this is the most that I've seen back and forth, flipping, flopping between Bethune Cookman, between Grambling, Jackson State, Texas, like all these teams that are rising. Prairie View as well, if you kind of want to throw them in there. All these teams coming out of nowhere that aren't your top 3 teams, which to me are Jackson State, or you're looking at FAMU, or you're probably looking at Alcorn. None of those teams outside of Jackson State have risen to the top and have all flipped with teams that we didn't think were going to be really great. And I think we shouldn't sleep on Bethune Cookman, because if they keep being sneaky good like this, then maybe they might be sneaky good next year. But I love the change in the SWAC. It's good to not see somebody as dominant in the MEAC. I can't really say that. I mean, everybody keeps flipping, but for the SWAC to have these kind of teams that really want to play and are vying for a championship that hasn't had one in years, I'm excited. So congratulations to Alabama State, even though it hurts my heart and it hurt my record this week. You know, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm probably just going to stop making picks. I didn't want to have a losing record this year, but these upsets and these teams learning how to play without their stars is great, but it hurts me the most, honestly.
I agree. So listen, I wanted to get to this game of the week for you as quickly as possible because you have a game. Okay. Listen, South Carolina State, North Carolina Central. This seemed like this is going to be the game that would determine who would make it to the MEAC championship. And it still is, but you have another variable out there that we're going to see on next week. But Arielle, your game of the week, amazing game. What you thinking?
You know, I'm scared. I really am, because like you said, this is our MEAC championship game. This is our playoff game, who's going to the Celebration Bowl. And the only reason that it's still up in the air is because Delaware State is still 3-0 in MEAC. South Carolina State is still 3-0 in the MEAC. And Central is 2-1 because of that loss to Delaware State. Now, if South Carolina State wins and they beat Delaware State, they go back for a 2P right now, going to the Celebration Bowl. If they lose, they are in the same record as Central. And technically, it would take for a loss from Delaware State to move Central past that, and maybe see with depth of schedule, with strength of schedule, who will actually move. Because it's anybody's game at this point. You have to be one of these teams, and South Carolina State would have to be Delaware State to do it again. But if we go back through the history, the first time that they met, but this wasn't with Chenesbury, was back in 2018. Kind of coming, I don't know why, but kind of coming up on the same day at 11/24. Central won 21-17. Always been a couple close games. And then we had that game of the year where Central won the Celebration Bowl. It was an amazing time to beat them. They won against South Carolina State 62-28, one of the largest margins in their playing history. Then you go, and then you get Chenesbury. And he kind of, it was a struggle game, but he ends up winning 24-21. There's never been a time that South Carolina State, except if we go back, actually, no, there's never been a time in South Carolina State's history that there's been over a 20-point margin that they have won against Central. Back in 2011, when they played in October, Central had lost to them 49-38. But there has never been a blowout against Central while playing South Carolina State. So we know the kind of competition that they're going to be facing in that day. The only thing that I can say that really just holds water right now is because Central lost to Delaware State. This puts them in a precarious situation that if they lose, this is the end of the road for them. If they win, there's something that can pull them through, and it's really just up to the football gods whether they go or not. But with South Carolina State having that momentum, and now having that quarterback that feels, I think to me this is going to be the battle of the quarterbacks. It's also going to be a battle of the running backs. We love seeing Chris Mosley play. I love seeing him play. He's one of my favorite players on Central's team. But I don't know if he has what it takes to go against that run game against South Carolina State, because that's all that they're known for. And I think it would be better in this instance to do what we tried to tell Walker Harris not to do, which is to be just a pocket passer. He's going to have to lean in on his ability to throw and to throw far, because we all know Walker Harris has an arm, and we all know that he can ring it out whenever he wants to. And I think having an air game is probably going to be the best form of attack during South Carolina State. I would like to see them run the ball. I would like to see the ground game come up. But I think against South Carolina State and how hefty that team is and how grimy that team plays, try to keep Walker Harris in touch as more than possible, because if he gets hurt, I just feel like that whole team will collapse. I haven't seen their backup quarterback this season. I don't think Trey Oliver has even thought about losing his quarterback. But I know South Carolina State is not going to play clean. That's going to be a dirty game. And I don't mean they're trying to do it on purpose. I don't think it's a negative. That's just how they play. They're really rough. So I think Walker Harris has to make sure that he throws the ball quickly, that he stays in the pocket, or he moves if he has to, and he keeps the ball in the air. Just keep shooting it down the field and making sure that you're scoring on almost every play that you can, because Central knows how to score, and South Carolina State will keep running it back. This is going to be a tough game, and we know this is going to be a close game, because I've never seen anything as big as that deficit in 2023, and we only know that North Carolina Central can do that. However, my pick for this game is going to go to South Carolina State. I love Central. I would love to see Trey Oliver get his lick back. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'm choosing South Carolina State.
I love it. I love it. I don't got my glasses on because I'm very afraid. I'm very afraid of a headache. But
these are not our transition glasses anyway. These are like my librarian, I kind of know something glasses. My black glasses are like, we're on perfect timing. You feel me? Like, I've been reading up on I needed history for this game to explain to you why I did not choose Central. But
that, because I was gonna say we still the transition twins, but right now this transition twin is on pause because I'm not trying to get another headache. That you have no idea. On Saturday, I wore the ones I've been wearing, and like they turned blue. And when I tell you, like, my brain was like, "Are you being drowned?" Like, it's like, you know, I'm like, what is? Because it was like my head was like, "Is it gonna hurt? No, it's not gonna hurt. Wait, I think you're drowning." Like, I'm like, I don't know, because all my brain saw was blue. Like, oh my gosh. But I agree with you that South Carolina State is gonna win. Let me start there. I totally agree that South Carolina State is going to win. They've shown me enough, because I was worried about them, and I think that was a popular sentiment within the HBC football community, is that what is South Carolina State right now? Because you lost some really key seniors and really some key transfers. I mean, you have Eric Phoenix for that 1 year. Is William Atkins the fourth? Is he that guy that's going to be able to replace a guy that arguably was the best quarterback in HBCU football, you know? And also Pat McAfee showed Eric Phoenix love, because, you know, he had that move where he trucked the North Carolina Central defender. Pat McAfee even was going crazy about it. You know what I mean? So, like, you had a guy that was making plays like that on national television, and, you know, you replace him. We don't know if William Atkins will be that guy. Now we know that he's incredibly talented. We know that just like a Chinnisberry team, they're rough, they're tough, they're physical. They do have a good run game. They have a good passing game. They're all around good. And we know that the physicality, I think, is going to be one of the bigger differences in any game that South Carolina State has. I still do believe that Walker Harris is the better quarterback out of the two. He's the quarterback that I trust the most. But here's something that I found that was very interesting, because you talked about Chris Mosley. One of my biggest criticism of HBCU media is that I would like to know the injury reports. Like, because we see that in professional sports, and we see it, you know, sort of in FBS football, but Division II HBCU football and FCS football, like, you'll be watching the game and you're like, wait a minute, where's this person? Oh, they're injured. Oh, I didn't know that unless a reporter asked on this MEAC call, this SWAT call. Chris Mosley has actually been injured. And to be honest, like I had noticed he wasn't there, but I'm like, wait, he sure has been injured. Because when I was doing my research on the game and I wrote about it on Clutch Points, I'm like, wait, he sure didn't play on last Saturday. Because I'm just like expecting when I see somebody run in my mind, Chris Mosley, there you go again. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, wait a minute, no, he sure didn't play. You know what I mean? So, like, and maybe it's my headache. I don't know. Maybe it's my headache. Maybe I was hungry. I don't know. I was like, is that Chris Mosley? But like he didn't play against Norfolk. You know, he got injured about a couple weeks ago. So hopefully he comes back, because I think that a player like Chris Mosley could change the calculus of a game like this. Because we saw what he did, and I'm not trying to be funny. We saw what he did against North Carolina A&T. I'm not trying to be funny. I want to preface that because he went crazy, okay? But I wasn't just saying, I wasn't trying to be, because I can't talk, okay? Because Fort Valley, can't talk. But like, we know that he is a game changer. He's one of the better running backs in this conference. One of, the top 2 running backs if you judge them against Marquise Gillis at Delaware State. So that changes the calculus a lot. Do we really? Because where's the injury report at? We got to go back and watch the MEAC call to see if Trey Oliver talked about it. Is he going to be back? If he's back, they have a puncher's chance of winning, of course, because now you have another weapon on that offense outside of just Walker Harris throwing the ball. And we know Chris Mosley can also be a receiving threat out of the backfield. But it's hard for me to bet against South Carolina State in the way that they're clicking, the way that they're dominating their competition. Then you look at what that Norfolk State game was for North Carolina Central on last week. And we know games can be competitive. And we can say, well, that Morgan State game was competitive when it came to South Carolina State. But here's the thing that I think is very key when it comes to North Carolina Central. Otto Coons gets knocked out in that the 5-second mark of the third quarter against Norfolk State. That's their starting quarterback. We advocated on this show, Arielle, for Otto Coons to be the guy at Norfolk State, because Israel Carter, he just wasn't showing us anything. So we were like, why are you not playing Otto Coons? So Otto Coons is playing, he's doing his thing in the game, and he gets injured. Huge stoppage when it comes to the game. He gets carted off, and we're all hoping that he's okay. But when you look at the game, you're like, North Carolina Central is going to absolutely win this game, because they have their starting quarterback. They're a better team than Norfolk. Norfolk got some good plays, some good scores, and Michael Vick has opened up the playbook for them to pass the ball more. But no, like, you have to have a quarterback to find Drayshawn Kendrick, to find J.J. Evans. But you have a Vincent Berry that he didn't put in his recorder. He put in Vincent Berry that goes out there as the backup quarterback in the fourth quarter and gets you 2 touchdowns and scares North Carolina Central to the point where it's a 31-28 game. They have the ball, they can go and win, and they have a turnover on downs. So I'm looking at North Carolina Central a little bit crazy, because not just because it's Norfolk State, but because it's the backup quarterback. What we've been talking about this whole entire episode, it's the backup quarterback. So you're telling me that the backup quarterback was about to walk North Carolina Central down? The Eagles? Trey Oliver's team? I'm looking at them a little bit crazy, and I feel like we all should be like, okay, like that there's some reason to be a little bit shaky. So South Carolina State, I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, because I got too much respect for North Carolina Central, but I think that it is within the margin of 10. South Carolina State is going to win. That's not a blowout. Within the margin of 10.
It's happened before. Shorter 11-point margins or less. It's happened before that South Carolina State can be Central. Central is the only school in their history of playing each other that has blown them out than more than 40 points. But this is before Chennisberry. With Chennisberry there for the past 2 years, it has been a 10-point margin. So I can see what you're saying. It's a lot of key components. We also have to remember that Central doesn't have a competitive defense like South Carolina State, which is one of the things that they did not work on this past year. And we especially didn't see, to your point, in this last game against Norfolk State, there is a high percentage that they could lose this game and see their hopes and dreams just fade away. But I'm glad we're on the same page. I would love an upset. I would love for the council to decide who gets to go and represents the MEAC. I would love for them to do that, because you just have 3 deserving teams, but only one person can make it and only one person can remain undefeated. So I think we got a good game of the week. I love always picking this. It's a great game of the week.
Yeah, but see, my thing is this, Arielle. I don't think it goes down to that. Because I remember I was talking about, if you remember, I was talking about there isn't a set MEAC championship game, but the MEAC championship is next week. The reason why I said that is because Delaware State is going to absolutely beat Howard. And South Carolina State, we presume, is going to beat North Carolina Central. That is your MEAC championship. Because if South Carolina State, as we talked about last week, South Carolina State beats Delaware State and they beat North Carolina Central, they're going to the Celebration Bowl. If Delaware State beats South Carolina State, if they handle business against Howard, and South Carolina State beats North Carolina Central, they're going to the Celebration Bowl. MEAC championship, even though they don't want to call it that, you scheduled y'all scheduled real good. Y'all did that. Y'all had some forethought because that's the MEAC championship, Arielle. I'm excited.
But if Central wins and South Carolina State loses their next two games, it's still up for debate. But also,
you're right.
But also, if South Carolina State loses to Central, but they end up being Delaware State because that's the last game of the season, you still have a competition between Central and Delaware State because they'll be tied. And the MEAC, they have tied before. It literally can go either way. But the thing is, Central can definitely count themselves out if South Carolina State wins because they already have that loss to Delaware.
See, that's the thing. See, this is why we need Chennis Berry to make it simple. just beat North Carolina Central, and then now we have a MEAC champ. I'm telling you, we have a MEAC championship game. I promise, if Chennis Berry beats North Carolina Central, I don't know what ESPN is going to do, but I feel like that game is going to be on TV. Okay, it's not going to be on YouTube TV probably, but it's going to be on. It's going to be televised somewhere. Okay, Cox Cable, DirecTV, Hulu Plus Live Sports is where they want you to go. It's going to be televised somewhere. ESPN Unlimited, it will definitely be there. But like they're going to be like, we're not going to put this game on ESPN Plus. We go like this is now the MEAC championship game. Put it on ESPN 2 at this point because the swag is on ESPN 2. The swag championship on ESPN 2. Put this essentially de facto MEAC championship game when DeSean Jackson and Chennis Berry handle business because we believe they will on TV. Like, come on, like, because that game, when I tell you that's going to be one of the games I've probably been the most hyped for in years, like in HBCU football. Like, you have a couple, like, of course, Alabama State, Jackson State this year. You had North Carolina Central, South Carolina State last year. Jackson State with Deion versus North Carolina Central. But that game, Arielle, and I know I'm looking ahead, but that specific game, if we get that, if South Carolina State beats North Carolina Central the way we think that they will, and Delaware State, we believe most likely is going to be Howard, that game is going to determine a lot about the future of the MEAC because DeSean Jackson is going to have a team next year. But Chennis Berry is still Chennis Berry, and he figures out a way to get guys that fit his philosophy. They might not be 5 stars, 4 stars. They might not be this Georgia transfer, this South Carolina transfer. They might not be that. You might lose a guy to the University of South Carolina. He just knows how to build a team. So if we get what we want, Arielle, that game next week could determine the future.
Even though we got a lot of what ifs going on and a lot of phantom theories and multiverse stuff, if we could just call one perfect Celebration Bowl, if they could just give me Delaware State and Alabama State, I will never complain again. Out of all these theories that we put, and like I said, I would love for all these MEAC. I would just love to see all these MEAC teams go. If you can just give me Alabama State versus Delaware State, I promise I won't complain or ask for anything else because I think that's a championship game. I think that's a game that's going to pull other viewers from other games that is going on just to watch that. And that will probably be the most viewed HBCU game of all time. Like, I would love to see. And you got the best quarterback going against an underdog team with a former NFL champion. You can't tell me that's not going to break records, and that's a pivotal moment in HBCU sports as to how many invitations from the NFL draft they could get. You got two of the best teams on the stage right now. Come on.
So here's the, if we were to get that, I just want just to be on the record, I'm still going to complain and I'm still going to ask for stuff. I just want just to be, if we were to get that, that'd be great. I'm still going to complain, but it'll be warranted. It'll be warranted complaints. But that ship has sailed on the SWAC side, because my game of the week, Arielle, because the great Trent, you can give me alley-oop. My game of the week is Jackson State, Bethune Cookman. And Alabama State could have made the Celebration Bowl. They could have made the SWAC championship, but you lose to Jackson State. Jackson State did lose to Grambling, but we enter this game in a very perilous situation. So, as you know, Arielle, before this week came, I was like, man, that Bethune Cookman Jackson State game is looking real nice. I might make that my game of the week. And I did make it my game of the week, but I was excited because you have two of the top offenses in the SWAC. You have Bethune Cookman, that is number 2 in scoring offense. Jackson State is number 1 in scoring offense. Jackson State is averaging 35 points per game. Bethune Cookman is averaging 30 points per game. Jackson State is at the top of the SWAC total offense, 487.2 yards per game in total offense, while Bethune Cookman is third in the SWAC behind Alabama State, 415.4 total yards per game. Bethune Cookman, best passing offense. And then you have Jackson State, least the SWAC in rushing. It's going to be an offensive show, and it probably still can be. Bethune Cookman's defense, they're malleable. Like they're at the bottom of the SWAC when it comes to defense. Jackson State, as we know, is all around. They win in all 3 phases often, even though we know that Jacoby Morgan is injured. Again, injury report, where's that at? We'll see if he suits up. I don't really know. I got to go check that, right? Because there's not an injury report. There's not a Sham Sharania or reporters let us know, hey, this injuries, right? So I was excited, Arielle, because if Bethune Cookman won this game, they announced their presence, and the SWAC goes into a fiasco on if Jackson State is going to make the SWAC championship and the Celebration Bowl. Arielle, of course, on Saturday, as we know, there was a brawl at the Grambling State versus Bethune Cookman game. And it led to 9 players being ejected. It led to 27 total players being suspended by the SWAC. And then both Bethune Cookman as well as Grambling State got a hefty fine. Grambling State, you got, I think, $40,000. Bethune Cookman, $25,000. It has dominated the discourse when it's come to this game and also when it comes to HBCU football. Let me say this real quick about the fight. I wrote a whole editorial about it, so I will be brief, and I will direct them to that editorial. I need us as Black folks, when something happens to Black folks or to an individual Black person or to a group of Black people or to a Black organization or a Black athletic program or even an HBCU, a single HBCU, that is not an indictment of all Black people, of all HBCUs. Just because there was a fight with Grambling State and Bethune Cookman does not mean that all HBCUs out here fighting. Just because there was a fight with Fort Valley and Central State does not mean that Fort Valley is a horrible institution, that Central State is a horrible institution, nor is it an indictment on all HBCU football programs at all levels. What Cam Newton said on his show was erroneous. What DeSean Jackson, for some reason, said on his show, why is DeSean Jackson talking about the SWAC at this point? You got bigger fish to fry, I would think, is erroneous. DeSean Jackson says they look like, what I saw growing up with the gangs fighting. They look like they hate each other, and it shows how ghetto we can be. DeSean Jackson, ghetto? Cam Newton, it set us back. Fire Mickey Joseph. Really, Cam? You just slapped the mascot. Be quiet. Anyway, my thing is that this is within the microcosm of the game because we can't get around that fight because it affects what's on the field. But what's happening off the field is a broader perception war of us using one single thing to minimize Black folks. And I hate that because that fight is not indicative of what Delaware State does, of what Jackson State is going to do, in this game against Bethune Cookman. It's not indicative. And it was even hard for me to look at this game and pick this game after the fight and realizing that you got to talk about that because you got 9 players from Bethune Cookman that are not going to be playing. Arielle, I would have picked probably Bethune Cookman. And I would have had a lot of Jackson State folks mad at me. They would have been after me, which I'm used to. But I cannot in good faith pick Bethune Cookman to win this game. I think their offense is great. If we let's say we snap our fingers, the fight didn't happen, Cam Newton and DeSean Jackson shut whatever up they were talking about, okay? It'd be hard for me to pick Bethune Cookman in because their defense is so bad. And I think that Jackson State, even if Jacoby Morgan does not play and Lockhart starts, because that's a big contingency for me, I thought they were gonna win regardless. Because that defense is not all that great for Bethune Cookman. But you lose 9 players and you got that hanging over you, and folks saying that this shows how ghetto black folks can be. And this fight set us back. And I know that Grambling got the brunt of it because of what Mickey Joseph was saying about disrespect. But Bethune Cookman was also a part of that, and they got a hefty fine, and you lose 9 players. So with that situation, and then the fact that I believe Jackson State is a better team, I am picking Jackson State to win this game.
I'm going to have to agree with you and choose Jackson State. This is like FAMU all over again, outside of the fight, but necessarily losing majority of half of their team. And you see, hopefully it's not the same domino effect, because ever since that happened, FAMU has just been on the losing side of everything. But it's unfortunate to it's one fight. You guys are acting like these other teams that have rushed fields and had fines, other SEC teams that have had brawls on the field this season. It's not ghetto. It's just in the momentum of the game. Like they're releasing stress, but as soon as a group of black people do it, and you already don't think of HBCUs highly. We are already at the bottom tier anyway. And it's amazing to me because half of these reporters and these analysts come from HBCUs. Yet you talk so badly about them. And we can't even get the people that we're trying to bring into our space to say anything positive or have any kind of enlightenment on what's going on in this situation. So to your point, yes, none of them spoke highly about us, but you're still going to want people to see the great side when you're not even representing yourself. But 2, there's no possible way, because I was leaning towards Bethune Cookman too, but there's no possible way that I could tell you that they're going to win with the predicament that they're in. And it's unfortunate. So in this case, we're going to agree that Jackson State is going to win, but I would love to be wrong. Out of all the weeks that I was wrong, this one I'm willing to be wrong if they lose, but I just don't see it happening this weekend at all.
I don't think it happens because, like I said, even outside of the fight, you're not beating Jackson State with a bottom of the conference defense. Like they're like in certain elements, they're middle of the pack. In other elements, they're at the bottom of the conference when it comes to defense. Bethune Cookman is. You're not beating Jackson State like that. You can keep pace with Jackson State when it comes to your offense, but Jackson State is so well-rounded and they have so many talented players on that defense. And they're leveraging their run game in a way that a lot of people, especially a lot of Jackson State folks, wanted to see that program leverage that run game. So I don't believe that Bethune Cookman at this point is going to pull it off. I would like to see an upset. And for Raymond Woody, because I was calling for his job at first, and then as you see, I can be wrong. I mediated that because he has been doing an amazing job. And I even realized he showed me some stuff last year, because you look at how they beat Grambling last year, right? How you go and you compete in some of those games last year, even though they got beaten by Clark Atlanta, which I didn't think was that big of a deal. But when it's a Division II program that beats a D1 program, they act like it's the end of the world. But my thing is that I do think that there's something brewing with Raymond Woody. And in my Clutch Points editorial, one of the things I bring up, and we'll move on after this, is that Raymond Woody had to succeed at Ed Reed. because we have to remember, and I know both of us remember vividly, because I bring up jokingly that Ed Reed could be a coaching candidate somewhere. He could, but I jokingly bring that up often. He had to come in and coach after Ed Reed had that job, and of course he lost it. And Arielle, I'll say this, and then we'll move on. I happened to look at the discourse around that yesterday, because I oftentimes find myself, Arielle, in deep reflection. And my reflection brought me back to when Ed Reed yelling on Instagram Live, I'm here picking up trash. He cussing everybody out. They got mad at him. And Bethune Cookman says, hey, we're not doing that. And then ultimately there was a broader issue at Bethune Cookman when it came to living arrangements, and the students started to protest. There was a guy from Fort Valley that was debating me down about, well, Ed Reed called it out and these students are saying this, and maybe Ed Reed deserves an apology. Arielle, I say, no, he doesn't. Two things can be true. This can be a complex situation, that Ed Reed was wrong, but the students have every right to protest because the conditions that they're living in is not great. Arielle, he asked me, he says, since you graduated, what have you done for Fort Valley State? He asked me that. And I didn't respond, but I saw that comment again, Arielle, and it put me on defense. And I saw someone that I had an issue with say something that was a lie. And it caused a visceral reaction in me, because someone that I went to school with, it's like, what have you done for Fort Valley since you graduated? Even the fact I have done stuff, what have you done for Fort Valley since you graduated? And you know something, Arielle? It made me think about Raymond Woody. Because I'm like, if I, who's not a coach, I'm not succeeding at Reed. If I am getting that for Fort Valley, we're not Division I. We're not playing Bethune-Cookman. If I'm getting that for criticizing how Ed Reed moved in that situation while shining light on the student protests, imagine where Raymond Woody has got these past 3 years. So I feel like I got to mediate how I was talking about him. Because yeah, I was looking at him a little bit like, man, you should be doing better. But I'm like, you know what? He's doing exactly what he should have. He's 5-5 right now. We think that maybe he could beat Jackson State. We're thinking that maybe he can beat FAMU. And I think that. So just to sort of like just put it all into perspective, he is walking a tightrope and he's doing his thing because you're succeeding Ed Reed. And that was a high pressure situation. And you making it happen. So I got to salute him. I just don't think they're going to beat Jackson State. But I got to say that. I got to salute him. But last week was interesting. I finished 10-2. You were 9-3. You've had a winning record, Arielle. You've been picking the games. Like it's certain games that's like they let you down, and that's okay because they let me down too twice. So it's like that's okay. Okay, we were right about South Carolina State, Jackson State, Prairie View, Alcorn. Surprisingly, we were right about Alcorn, Delta State. Although that was close because Morgan State almost won that. North Carolina Central, Maine, UT Martin, and Stony Brook. Okay. So you picked Texas Southern. I picked Alabama State. So that was a win for me. We both were wrong about UAPB, though they almost did beat FAMU 31-28. And we both were wrong about Bethune-Cookman because we thought they would beat Grambling. And Grambling won what actually was a good game, 31-23. Of course, the fight sort of ruined the discourse around that, but it actually was a really good game. So, like I said, you are 9-3. Your overall record is 90-33. I'm 10-2. My overall record is 94-29. So, before we start picking the games, Arielle, what do you think about your record? I think you're doing a really good job, honestly.
I mean, it's all right, but it's like, why?
You're 94-29.
I need better. I want better.
That's that A&T mentality. You want better, like just always better. You already the largest HBCU. You want to do more. You know, you want more restaurants on campus. You want another cafeteria built. Like, you just want more. Like, just
we're not number one. We're not number one. I want to be number one. We want to be number one.
Spelman's number one. That Spelman ain't lingo or that one ever in their life.
Not. I don't think they are. I don't think there will ever be HBCU. The only HBCU I think that has ever come close is in the same state. And the only other HBCU that could actually do it that remains in the top 3, I think, is Xavier.
Well, Howard and Morehouse, Xavier, they hover around a little bit when it comes to, and we're talking about the U.S. News and World Report top 10 list. They hover around in the middle. Tuskegee slides up and down often, but yeah, I mean, you know, but I mean, y'all still A&T though. Y'all still doing y'all big one. But I understand you want more. 94 and 29 is not enough. I don't know what it is, but it ended up. I get it. No. It's enough for me. My record is 94 and 29.
Yeah,
90 and 33 is not enough.
I'm 90 and 33.
Yeah, but I'm getting it mixed up because we're not that far off. That's why I'm getting it mixed up. We're not that far off. Transition points. Yeah.
That's what LeBron says. You know, his games. You did a great job after blowing a team out to like 80 to like 50 something.
Hilarious. Well, that happened to the Lakers last night as we recorded this. That the Thunder beat the Lakers down, but that's that. I wouldn't advise you to watch that game. Okay, that's not a game.
I haven't watched the Lakers game since he signed with them because it's been nothing but a train wreck every single season.
Oh my. Okay, that's a different conversation. It's not been a train wreck, but I mean, one of the seasons were. But you know, we'll keep the football. So. Florida A&M versus Alabama A&M. I think this is an interesting game. Who you got?
It does perk me up. It doesn't like make me but it does perk me up. I don't know if, to be honest, this Florida A&M, the Florida A&M game last week it's not something that's like a pivotal moment to me that I think they're like a good team. They've had a rocky season and I don't see anything getting better, but I don't know if I know better to choose Alabama A&M over Florida. I'm going to go Florida A&M and it's going to have to be what it is.
I think FAMU wins too. I can't count them out in this one. I think FAMU wins as well. So Grambling versus Alcorn State. Now, let me preface it by saying this, just so we have the context. Grambling is missing 18 players because they were suspended due to the brawl that occurred last week. Some of those players, not all of them, but some of them are going to be suspended for 2 games. So that's sort of the pretext. We won't see them until the Bayou Classic for some of them. Like I think for 2 of them, but 18 players are suspended, and Alcorn State has been looking pretty good. So, who do you think wins this game?
Oh, I wasn't picking Grambling regardless. Like we've seen when I haven't choose Alcorn State, and when you did decide to side with me last week, we won. The one time I didn't choose them, that's what started my losing record. So I'm choosing Alcorn State. Outside of Grambling, not going to have a team to compete anyway. But Alcorn State was my pick regardless. I've learned my lesson to choose against them in certain situations.
So for AI, I'm picking Alcorn State as well. But if the fight didn't happen, I would have chose Grambling. But I'm choosing Alcorn State just to be clear. But I would have chose Grambling.
I think I still would have chose Alcorn State.
You got so much faith in them. You got so.
Why'd you say it like that? Like it was so bad.
You got so like I'm telling you, you got. It's not bad. I like your faith in them is unwavering. It's larger than a mustard seed. I'm telling you, larger than that.
They got more of my faith than anything else right now. Says a lot about my life, but
oh my God.
Listen, life been lifing. Life has been lifing.
I feel that 100%. So UAPB versus Prairie View A&M. Who you got?
I don't know why I'm stumped right now.
No, I understand why. I get it. I get why.
The season's almost over. The games that I really want are next week. Surprisingly, I'm choosing Prairie View.
I'm choosing Prairie View as well, but I'm telling you, UAPB is proving something to me. I'm telling you that I picked them over FAMU last week, and we both did, but I picked them because I really think that they're building something really good over there. And Prairie View sort of already has the SWAC West locked up. So, Prairie View could sort of sleep on this game, but I don't think that Tremaine Jackson's going to let them. I think Prairie View wins, but I would say watch out for UAPB for sure. And for AI, just to make sure AI knows, Gemini, I'm picking Prairie View because they be playing with me, Arielle. They be playing. They be getting our picks wrong. So, okay. You ready for this, Arielle? You ready?
Ready.
Can we agree Texas Southern's going to beat Southern?
I'm glad we finally get to say, can we agree? Of course.
I feel so dirty saying that.
We do the same when it comes to Morgan State or Howard. We have no.
But this is Southern. This is Southern. Pete Richardson, Southern. Aeneas Williams, Southern. Dawson Odom, Southern.
None of them were there this season.
They weren't.
Exactly.
Trey Holly is there, though. Trey Holly is there. Great running back. And he was, I don't know. Southern confounds me. Southern got my head hurting like how I was on Saturday. I swear to God. Like, I'm telling you, watching how they play football and the firing fiasco. My God. Anyway. So can we agree Alabama State is going to beat Mississippi Valley State?
Yes. Even without Andrew Body. I better not see him play. I will be so upset. I will be so upset if they put that man on the field. Are you kidding me right now? We just talked so highly of you about being a great coach and a knowledgeable staff. Don't put that man in there.
That's fact. So, okay. So we're going to the MEAC.
Yep.
Morgan State, Norfolk State. Now, Arielle, let me give you, let's put this in context for the people. Because you know, because you be picking on Morgan State. They could have beaten Delaware State on last Friday. So Morgan State cooking. Okay. So like you got Hunter doing his thing on that defense. They cooking. Damon, he doing his thing. Damon Wilson doing his thing. So Arielle, do you have faith in Morgan State to take down Norfolk State?
Let me preface this by saying I don't hate them because they're not a good team like Mississippi Valley State. That's completely different. I dislike them. Yes, all shade is thrown. I don't hate Mississippi Valley State, but they aren't a good team. The reason why I dislike Morgan State is because they have everything to win and never do it. They are disappointing to me. It doesn't get any better season after season. They've had close games this season, but they can't finish. They're like the Falcons. It pisses me off. Don't know what to do. That's the reason why I don't like them. That's why they're on my list. However, I am not blind nor dumb nor proud enough to say that they won't be Norfolk State. So my pick for AI is that Morgan State is definitely going to beat Norfolk State. I know that was harsh, but
that was very harsh.
I just need to clear things up.
I thought the Mississippi Valley part was harsh, but the Falcons part was real harsh. That's what hurt me. Oh, that would hurt me.
You listen. Can we not agree though?
Oh yeah, Morgan State is going to beat Norfolk State, and it's going to be amazing for them. And I want to reiterate that Morgan State, and I wrote a whole editorial about it on Clutch Points. I'm gonna find the editorial so people can type it into Google because people listening to this, they might listen to this months from now. Listen, on last Friday, I wrote an editorial that was called, I believe it was called, I think Morgan State. Oh yeah, DeSean Jackson, Delaware State survived Morgan State comeback, win 14-12. In this game analysis, Arielle, I said that Morgan State put the book out on how to beat Delaware State. And I stand on that. Damon Wilson put the book out there on how to beat Delaware State. And I think Chennis Berry and his coaching staff are watching because they had the lowest rushing total. And mind you, Delaware State, one of the best rushing teams in the FCS. They had the lowest rushing total that they've had all season against Morgan State. So Morgan State, Damon Wilson still can coach. He be struggling a little bit as far as his team. He still can coach. And I really feel like him and that coaching staff, they put the book out there, get rough, tough, physical with Delaware State, and you take away that run game and that big playability from Gillis and James Jones, and it gets scary for him. So shout out to Morgan State for that. Chin is very proud to thank you too. He'll say, God bless you. Okay.
Maybe they should read their own book and they might win a couple more games next season.
My gosh. That man. Okay. I thought you was gonna laugh at the Chinnisberry joke, but no, you said I got smoke from Morgan State. Jesus Christ on the cross.
I'm sorry.
Golly. Anyway, all right. You ready for this one?
Of course.
Can we agree Delaware State's gonna beat Howard?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry, Howard. I know we're on your station. So sorry, but yes, yes.
But they're not. The Delaware State is going to beat them. Okay, we can get through these pretty quick. I think Gardner Webb versus Tennessee State. Can we agree Gardner Webb is going to beat Tennessee State? Oh, we can't.
No.
What? Oh, you picked Tennessee State?
I think Tennessee State might have it.
Why?
Is that why it was so aggressive? It was.
I try to make it enthusiastic. Like, why?
What? Like, why? Why you disagree with me? I think this is the one game that I believe Tennessee State can win. To me, Gardner Webb is a great team, and they've held their own this whole season. I just think Tennessee State, when it comes to the passing game, might inch out a little bit more. I can see this being a possible win for them. I could be wrong. I'm willingly giving myself a loss this week because remember last week I didn't choose A&T to win against Stony Brook, but I did say hold me on record that their next game I will choose them, even though it was supposed to be Elon. So I already have one loss this week.
Okay. I'm gonna choose Gardner Webb because I don't think Tennessee State is ready. I think they'll be ready for prime time next year. Okay, Arielle. So William and Mary. Can we agree William and Mary is going to beat Hampton?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is the game, Arielle. Now, Arielle, I'm gonna let you have the floor because I want you to explain why this is the game that you want, that you believe. Not you want them to win, but you believe that North Carolina A&T is going to win.
They're not going to win. But because I'm a woman of my word of the last podcast, I meant to say the Elon game because I believe they could win the Elon game. And that would be a great end of their season, even though it was a losing season. This game, they're definitely not winning. But like I said, I am a woman of my word, and I was confused on which game they were going to play next. So unfortunately, for AI, Ari has to choose North Carolina A&T.
That's very virtuous. That's very virtuous. Mama's gonna beat them down.
Oh yeah.
Mama's gonna beat them down. And I'm not throwing shade because I can't talk. Because not only did my team lose at the Fountain City Classic, I nearly lost my life. I had a headache. My hamstring done gave out on me. Like I can't.
When you texted me, you were going through it. I said, I don't know what kind of bad mojo you had going on that game. I don't even know what possessed you to go to that game.
That's it for the show on today. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, ariel.onrecord, or you can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter. Put me in the hot seat at AskRiri __, or you can follow me on my website at ariel.kilgore.my.canva.com.